In a series of 112 cryptic Latin phrases, Saint Malachi predicts there would be only one more pope after Benedict, and during his reign comes the end of the world.
The prophecy of the popes attributed to Saint Malachi has captivated the world for centuries. As we examine the life of Pope Francis and the challenges facing the Catholic Church, it is crucial to explore the origins, accuracy, and potential fulfillment of this ancient prophecy. Saint Malachi, an Irish archbishop from the 12th century, is credited with the authorship of the prophecy of the popes. According to legend, during his pilgrimage to Rome, Malachi experienced a profound vision in which he saw a list of future popes stretching from his time to the end of days. Each pope was described using a brief Latin phrase, offering cryptic clues to their identity and reign. The prophecy, consisting of 112 short Latin verses, was allegedly recorded by Malachi and later hidden in the Vatican archives. The authenticity of the prophecy has been a topic of debate among scholars and religious experts. Some believe that the prophecy was a genuine revelation from God, while others argue that it was a fabrication created centuries after Malachi's death. Despite the uncertainty surrounding its origins, the prophecy of the popes has captured the imagination of people worldwide. Its mystique lies in its apparent ability to accurately predict the reigns of past popes, as well as its foreboding descriptions of the final popes leading up to the end times. The prophecy's enigmatic nature has led to countless interpretations and speculations, fueling both fascination and skepticism among believers and non-believers alike. The rediscovery of the prophecy in the 15th century. The prophecy of the popes remained hidden for centuries until it was rediscovered in the 15th century by a Benedictine monk named Arnold de Wyon. During his academic pursuits, Wyon stumbled upon the ancient text in the Vatican archives, coinciding with a crucial moment in the history of the Catholic Church, the election of Pope Urban VII. The rediscovery of the prophecy sparked renewed interest in its contents and potential implications. The 112 Latin phrases, each associated with a future pope, offered a tantalizing glimpse into the future of the Church and the world at large. The timing of the prophecy's resurgence was particularly significant, as it coincided with a period of great upheaval and change within the Church. As news of the prophecy spread, it captured the attention of scholars, clergy, and lay people alike. Many began to study the cryptic verses, attempting to decipher their hidden meanings and connect them to past and present popes. The rediscovery of the prophecy in the 15th century marked a turning point in its history, transforming it from an obscure text to a subject of intense fascination and speculation that would endure for centuries to come. Fascinating examples of the prophecy's accuracy. Throughout history, there have been several instances where the prophecy of the popes seems to have accurately predicted the reigns of various pontiffs. One of the most striking examples is the description of Pope John Paul I, whose Latin phrase, de medietate lunae, translates to of the half moon. Astonishingly, John Paul I was born on October 17, 1912, during a lunar eclipse, and his pontificate lasted a mere 33 days, aligning with the idea of a half moon. Another remarkable example is the prophecy's description of Pope Pius VII, whose Latin phrase aquila rapax translates to rapacious eagle. During his pontificate, Pius VII faced the challenges of the Napoleonic Wars, and he was even held captive by Napoleon, who used the eagle as his imperial symbol. The connection between the prophecy and the historical events surrounding Pius VII's reign is undeniably intriguing. The prophecy's accuracy seems to extend to more recent times as well. The Latin phrase associated with Pope John Paul II, de labor solis, or from the labor of the sun, has been interpreted as a reference to a solar eclipse that occurred on the day of his birth, May 18, 1920. Furthermore, John Paul II's native Poland is often referred to as the land of the rising sun, adding another layer of significance to the prophecy. These examples, among others, have led many scholars and believers to marvel at the prophecy's apparent precision in describing the lives and reigns of various popes. However, it is essential to approach these interpretations with a degree of caution, as the human tendency to find patterns and meaning in ambiguous texts can sometimes lead to overinterpretation or confirmation bias. Pope Francis, the 266th Pope and possible fulfillment of the prophecy. Pope Francis, born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Argentina, assumed the papacy in March 2013, becoming the 266th Pope of the Roman Catholic Church. His pontificate has been marked by a number of unique characteristics and events that have led some to speculate about his potential role in the fulfillment of the prophecy of the popes. According to the prophecy, the final pope is referred to as Peter the Roman, who will lead the church through a period of great tribulation before the end of days. While Pope Francis's birth name does not directly correspond to Peter, some have pointed out that his father's name was Pietro, Peter, and that his papal name, Francis, is reminiscent of Saint Francis of Assisi, who was born in Italy and embodied humility and simplicity. Moreover, Pope Francis's pontificate has been characterized by a series of reforms and changes within the Church, as well as a focus on social justice, environmental stewardship, and interfaith dialogue. These actions have been interpreted by some as signs of the Great Tribulation mentioned in the prophecy, as they represent significant shifts in the Church's traditional stance on various issues. However, it is crucial to note that the interpretation of Pope Francis as the fulfillment of the prophecy is far from universally accepted. Many within the Vatican and the scholarly community view the prophecy of the popes as a historical curiosity rather than a genuine prophetic text. The Catholic Church itself has not officially endorsed or validated the prophecy, and it encourages the faithful to approach such predictions with prudence and discernment. Challenges and controversies during Pope Francis' pontificate. Pope Francis's tenure has been marked by a number of significant challenges and controversies that have tested the Church's unity and moral authority. A. Sexual abuse scandals. One of the most pressing issues faced by Pope Francis has been the Church's handling of sexual abuse scandals involving members of the clergy. These scandals, which have plagued the Church for decades, have caused immense pain to victims and have tarnished the institution's reputation. Critics argue that Pope Francis has not done enough to hold those responsible accountable for their actions, and the Church's response to these scandals has often been criticized as inadequate. In 2018, a grand jury report in Pennsylvania highlighted the scale of the problem, detailing allegations of abuse by over 300 priests and the subsequent cover-ups by church officials. The report sparked a wave of outrage and renewed calls for reform within the Church. Pope Francis has taken steps to address the issue, including convening a summit on the protection of minors and instituting new laws to combat sexual abuse. However, many survivors and advocates maintain that more decisive action is needed to restore trust and ensure justice for the victims. B. Amoris Laetitia and doctrinal debates. Another source of controversy during Pope Francis's pontificate has been his apostolic exhortation, Amoris Laetitia, or the joy of love. The document, which addresses issues related to marriage and family life, has sparked heated debates within the Church. Of particular concern is the question of whether divorced and remarried Catholics should be allowed to receive the Eucharist. Amoris Laetitia suggests a more compassionate approach, but traditionalists argue that it undermines doctrinal orthodoxy. In response to the document, a group of 45 Catholic scholars and clergy wrote a 25-page letter to Pope Francis in 2017, accusing him of propagating heresy. The controversy surrounding Amoris Laetitia has highlighted deep divisions within the Church, with some praising Pope Francis's emphasis on mercy and pastoral care, while others fear a departure from traditional teachings. Divisions within the Catholic Church under Pope Francis. The pontificate of Pope Francis has brought to the fore significant divisions within the Catholic Church. While some Catholics embrace his vision of a more inclusive, compassionate, and socially engaged church, others view his approach as a threat to traditional doctrine and moral teachings. One of the most prominent fault lines has been between progressive and conservative factions within the Church. Progressives have applauded Pope Francis's emphasis on issues such as social justice, environmental stewardship, and interfaith dialogue. They see in his leadership a renewed commitment to the Second Vatican Council's vision of a church that engages with the modern world and prioritizes the needs of the poor and marginalized. On the other hand, conservatives have expressed deep concern over what they perceive as a departure from orthodox doctrine and a weakening of the Church's moral authority. They point to controversies such as the debate surrounding Amoris Laetitia as evidence of a growing rift between Pope Francis and the Church's traditional teachings. Some have even gone so far as to accuse the Pope of heresy or of leading the Church astray. These divisions have been exacerbated by the rise of social media and online platforms, which have provided new outlets for dissent and debate within the Church. Websites, blogs, and YouTube channels have become spaces where Catholics of different persuasions can express their views and rally support for their positions. The divisions within the Church have also taken on a geographical dimension, with some regions and episcopates more aligned with Pope Francis's vision than others. In the United States, for example, the Pope has faced significant opposition from a number of prominent conservative bishops and media outlets. As the Church navigates these internal tensions, it faces the challenge of maintaining unity while also addressing the legitimate concerns and aspirations of its diverse members. Pope Francis has sought to promote dialogue and reconciliation, but the divisions within the Church remain a significant obstacle to his vision of a more inclusive and outward-facing Catholicism. Criticisms and accusations against Pope Francis. Pope Francis has faced a range of criticisms and accusations throughout his pontificate, both from within the Church and from external observers. One of the most serious accusations came in 2018 from Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, a former apostolic nuncio to the United States.
The revolution has failed, just as the secularist and anti-Christian ideology of the post-revolutionary liberal and Masonic West has shown that it has failed.
In an 11-page letter, Vigano accused Pope Francis of negligence in his handling of sexual abuse allegations against former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. Vigano claimed that Pope Francis had knowledge of McCarrick's misconduct but failed to take appropriate action, and he called for the Pope's resignation. The accusation sent shockwaves through the Church and sparked intense debate about the Pope's leadership and the Church's response to sexual abuse scandals. Other criticisms of Pope Francis have focused on his stance on doctrinal issues. Some conservative Catholics have accused him of sowing confusion and undermining traditional teachings on topics such as marriage, divorce, and homosexuality. They point to documents such as Amoris Laetitia as evidence of a departure from orthodox doctrine and a weakening of the Church's moral authority. Pope Francis has also faced criticism for his handling of the Church's diplomatic relations. Some have accused him of being too accommodating to authoritarian regimes, such as those in China and Russia, while others have criticized his stance on issues such as immigration and climate change. The role of media and online platforms in amplifying church divisions. The divisions within the Catholic Church under Pope Francis have been amplified by the rise of digital media and online platforms. Social media, blogs, and YouTube channels have become key spaces where Catholics of different persuasions can express their views, rally support, and critique the Pope and other church leaders. Conservative Catholic media outlets, such as Church Militant and LifeSite News, have been particularly vocal in their criticism of Pope Francis. These platforms have accused the Pope of promoting heresy, undermining traditional doctrine, and leading the Church astray. They have also provided a platform for dissenting voices within the Church, such as Archbishop Vigano, to reach a wider audience. Progressive Catholic media, on the other hand, have tended to be more supportive of Pope Francis's vision for the Church. Outlets such as the National Catholic Reporter and America magazine have praised the Pope's emphasis on social justice, environmental stewardship, and dialogue with the modern world. The rise of digital media has also allowed for the rapid spread of misinformation and conspiracy theories within the Church. In some cases, unsubstantiated accusations and misleading narratives have gained traction online, further fueling division and mistrust, reflecting on the prophecy and its relevance to Pope Francis. As we consider the prophecy of the popes and its potential relevance to the pontificate of Pope Francis.
È stato il mio primo viaggio e lì vuol dire una cosa interiore. Io neppure sapevo dove era Lampedusa, neppure.
It is important to approach the matter with both openness and discernment. The prophecy, while intriguing, remains a matter of speculation and interpretation rather than a definitive guide to the future of the Church. Those who see Pope Francis as a potential fulfillment of the prophecy point to his unique status as the first pope from the Americas, his emphasis on social justice and dialogue, and his efforts to reform the Church. They argue that his pontificate marks a significant turning point in the history of the papacy, and that his leadership is guiding the Church through a period of great challenge and transformation. However, it is important to remember that the prophecy is a cryptic and ambiguous text, open to multiple interpretations. The specific details of Pope Francis's life and pontificate do not necessarily align neatly with the descriptions of the final pope in the prophecy. Moreover, the Catholic Church has not officially endorsed or validated the prophecy, and it encourages the faithful to approach such predictions with caution. Ultimately, the significance of Pope Francis's pontificate will be determined not by any supposed prophetic fulfillment, but by the fruits of his leadership and the ways in which he shapes the Church's mission and witness in the world. As Catholics reflect on the prophecy and its relevance to the current Pope, they are called to do so with a spirit of humility, trust, and openness to the guidance of the Holy Spirit. The mystical event in Israel and its potential connection to the prophecy. In recent years, there have been reports of a mystical event in Israel that some have connected to the prophecy of the popes and the pontificate of Pope Francis. According to these reports, a group of Jewish rabbis and mystics experienced a series of visions and revelations that they believe are linked to the end times and the coming of the Messiah. Some Catholics have drawn parallels between these mystical experiences and the prophecies of Saint Malachi, suggesting that they may be signs of the impending fulfillment of the final pope's reign. They point to the geographic location of the event in Israel, the spiritual significance of the Holy Land, and the timing of the visions in relation to Pope Francis's tenure. However, it is important to approach these claims with caution and discernment. The Catholic Church has not officially validated or endorsed the reported mystical event, and the connections between it and the prophecy of the popes remain speculative.